So we're going to spend another day looking at cylinders and actually looking at word problems now instead of actually being given the cylinder. So this is going to be like real life situations. So there's an aquarium tank. It is in New England, the New England Aquarium in Boston. It is 24 feet deep and its radius is 18.8 feet. Find the volume of the tank and use approximate volume of pi 3.14 and round your answer to the nearest tenth. So we're going to round it to the nearest tenth. What really helps if you have word problems is to draw it out. You don't have to each time, but it's definitely a good strategy to use. So I know the radius is 18.8 feet, and I know the height is 24 feet. So I have my volume, V equals pi r squared times my height. My radius is 18.8 squared. Oops. And I know my height is 24. So what I'm going to do, make sure everything is even and on the same playing field. I'm going to take my calculator now, and I'm going to take 18.8 and square it, which I get 354.4. And now what I can do is multiply it by my 24, because I need to get everything, and then multiply by pi. Everything's situated. So times 24, I'm going to get 8,482.56. Now remember, I'm not done. I still need to multiply my final answer by 3.14. So let's see what we get when we multiply. And it told us to use 3.14. So we're going to use 3.14 instead of the pi button. So for this, I get 26,635, whoops, 0.238. And it says we need to round to the nearest tenth. So here's the tenth place, the first place after the decimal. This 3 is not going to make that 2 do anything, so we're going to leave it as the volume is 26,635.23 feet cubed. Because we're dealing with feet. So that definitely makes sense, especially if we have an aquarium. Gotta hold Shamu in it, right? So let's try a different one now. Farmer Jones, he owns a citrus tree in Florida. During some parts of the year, amount of rain in Florida is not significant to the maximum growth of their citrus tree. So Farmer Jones is going to buy a water tank. So he's going to buy a water tank, and it'll hold a height of 10 feet with a radius of 5 feet. So we need to figure out how much water he can hold. So V equals pi r squared times our height. And remember, our radius is going to be 5. And our height is 10. So I know 5 squared is going to be 5 times 5, which is 25. And I need to multiply that by my 10, giving me 250. And now I can multiply it by my pi. I'm going to use 3.14 for my pi. So I'm going to take 250 and multiply it by 3.14. That's going to give me a nice even number of 785. And we're dealing with feet cubed. So remember, we're taking the radius, squaring it, meaning I'm multiplying whatever the radius is by itself, and then multiplying it by my height, and then taking it and multiplying it by pi, which is 3.14. Now, sometimes in word problems, you need to be very careful, especially if it's talking about diameter or radius. So it says a standard size drum has a diameter of 22 inches and it's 18 inches deep. So when it says something is deep, it means that essentially it is its height. So I know that it's 18 inches high, or the height is 18 inches. Now the diameter is 22, meaning all the way across my drum, the diameter is 22. Well, I actually need a radius, not a diameter. So in order to figure out the radius, I need to take my diameter and divide it by 2. So I'm going to take 22 and cut it in half, which would be 11. So if I broke this in half, each radius, depends on which side you want to use, doesn't really matter, is going to be 11 inches. So now that I found that, now I can actually use my equation. So I have v equals pi r squared times my height. Now I know my radius, which is 11 squared. And I'm going to multiply it by my height, which is 18. So I know that 11 times 11 is 121. And now I'm going to multiply that by my 18. So 121 times 18, which is 2,178. And let's see, it says use the approximate value of pi, 3.14. So we're going to multiply by 3.14 and then round to the nearest tenth. So let's see what this is going to get me. Times 3.14. Wow, super large number. That's a lot of water. Or it's a big volume of a drum if I was going to fill it up. 6,838.92. Alright, so we need to round to the nearest tenth place, which is the first decimal. This 2 is not going to make this 9 go up. So we're actually going to leave it as 6,838.92 inches cubed. We're going to leave it exactly like that. And if you round it up, if you took the 9 and made this a 439, that's okay. Remember, we need to be aware of what the number is after our tenths place, which is the thousandths place, and in this case, this 2. So now we have a can of soup. It has a radius of 5 centimeters and a height of 15 centimeters. So I have v equals pi r squared. I'm not going to draw a diagram for this one. I think I'm getting used to how to do this. So I personally don't need a diagram. But if you want to draw a cylinder, please do so until you are 100% comfortable with doing a volume. So I know that 5 squared, 5 times 5 is going to give me 25. And I need to multiply that by 15. So I'm going to take 25 and multiply it by 15, and I'm going to get 375. And remember, at any point you can always pause the video, try the problem yourself, and see if you got the same answer. So now I'm going to multiply it by pi, 3.14, and I'm going to get 1,177.5. Since there's no decimal place after it, I'm going to leave it as is. 1,177.5, and I'm dealing with centimeters cubed because it's volume. All right, let's try one more here. Or sorry, 2 more here. Tanks of water. Now I'm dealing with another problem that's dealing with diameter, so I need to be aware of that. The diameter is 9. My height is 25. on. So my diameter is 9. My height is 25. I don't know what my radius is. Well, I definitely know that diameter, if I cut the diameter in half, so this is diameter, the difference between diameter and radius, you can see is that it is cut in half. Radius is half of the diameter. So I'm going to take 9 and divide it by 2. Well, I know that I can get close with 8, so 2 times 4 is 8. And if I add 50 cents to both, now it's 4.50 or 4.5. Now I know my radius, now I can solve. V equals pi r squared. My radius is 4.5 squared. My height is 25. And I'm going to bring down my pi. So if I plug 4.5 into the calculator and square it, I'm going to get 20.25. And now I just need to multiply by my height times 25 because that's my height. I get 506.25. Remember, don't round yet, not until after we multiply by pi, 3.14. You can also use the symbol. I'm going to get 1,589.625. And let's see, it says round to the nearest hundredths place. So we're not rounding to the tenths place, we're rounding to the hundredths place. And the hundredths place is this 2 right here. Well, good thing I know the number before it, which is the thousandths place. This 5 is actually going to make this 2 go up, since the 5 is above a 5. So now I actually have 1,589.63 feet cubed. The reason it's feet, because I can actually look back in my story and see that they're dealing with feet. Now we got our last one here, a swimming pool. How exciting! A children's kiddie pool is shown here. The pool is 15 inches high. Whoops. And the radius is 13. Oh, perfect. They gave us our radius now, so we don't need to worry. So what we have here now is our V equals, again, pi r squared. It's going to get real old sometimes writing it out each time, but you can at least guarantee 100% that you did your steps correctly. And that's what math is about, making sure you do your steps correctly and make sure you multiply and everything else. 13 times 13 I know is 169. And if I multiply that by 15, let's see what I get. $2,535. Am I done? Absolutely not. I still need to multiply by 3.14. Holy cow, super large number. I get 7,900. Let me move up a little bit. And 59.9. If I wanted to round to the nearest tenth, which is this 9, remember if there's no numbers after it, it's 0, so you're actually going to leave it alone. You're going to leave it as 7,959.9 inches cubed. And that is all of your word problems. Remember, word problems can sometimes be tricky, but definitely highlight and underline everything you know.